Iruma Suzuki, a 14-year-old Japanese boy incapable of refusing polite requests, works hard to support his scumbag parents. He is suddenly kidnapped to the netherworld by the demon Sullivan after Iruma's parents sold his soul. Sullivan wishes to adopt Iruma as his beloved grandson, since his friends Levi and Bilal always boast about their grandsons and he is jealous. Iruma agrees and is enrolled in demon school, where he must keep his human identity secret or risk being eaten by his classmates. Iruma attends opening ceremony and leads Sullivan as the school's director. First-year representative Asmodeus Alice tries to give his speech, but Sullivan makes Iruma do it instead. Iruma reads a speech provided by Sullivan, terrifying and impressing the students, as the speech was actually a dangerous spell to prevent Iruma falling or embarrassing himself. Asmodeus challenges Iruma to a duel for insulting him, but Iruma, having been raised by scumbag parents who constantly put him in dangerous situations, has developed an almost superhuman ability to dodge out of the way. The other students assume Iruma refuses to fight back because he considers Asmodeus weak. When a girl in the audience is almost hurt, Iruma saves her, but the effects of Sullivan's spell prevents him from falling forwards, and he accidentally knocks Asmodeus unconscious by throwing him backwards in a German suplex. The story spreads throughout the school, making Iruma famous. Iruma is shocked when Asmodeus happily declares himself Iruma's servant. Sullivan is delighted Iruma seems to have a bright future in the netherworld. During breakfast with Sullivan, Iruma demonstrates his ability to consume truly shocking amounts of food. He tries to refuse to attend demon school, but decides to go when Sullivan reveals he has bought even more thoughtful gifts for him. Asmodeus informs Iruma they must summon their magical familiars, and the strength of the familiar will determine their demonic rank and which class they are placed in. Their advisor, Naberius Caligo, immediately dislikes Iruma for being Sullivan's grandson. To summon a familiar, the students perform a ceremony using their blood on summoning parchments marked with Naberius' demonic seal to prevent cheating. Asmodeus summons a fire-breathing gorgon snake. Iruma tries the summoning, but as he has no demonic power in his blood, the familiar summoning accidentally becomes a demon summoning using the power of Naberius' demonic seal, causing Naberius to be summoned as Iruma's familiar in the embarrassing form of a small, cute, fluffy owl with bat wings and horns. Despite it being an accident, the other students assume Iruma must be even more powerful than Naberius to be able to bind him as a familiar, thus increasing Iruma's fame even more. Sullivan happily informs them familiar summoning contracts are unbreakable and last an entire year. Naberius becomes bedridden from shock, and Iruma's rank is left undetermined. Iruma meets a hyperactive student named Valak Clara, whom Asmodeus warns Iruma not to speak to. Asmodeus explains Clara is a weirdo who people try to avoid. Clara becomes attached to Iruma, who is compelled to play with her after she says please. Clara reveals she possesses magical pockets which can copy any object she sees. Iruma learns other students have been manipulating Clara into creating free food for them. Clara sadly reveals she has gotten used to having to bribe people to be her friends. When she tries to bribe Iruma, he refuses her, upsetting her, until Iruma explains he wants to be her friend without bribes. This makes Clara so happy that when the other students try manipulating her again, she throws drinks machine at them before using Asmodeus as a target for paint dodgeball. Iruma is unsure if Asmodeus and Clara are his friends since he had never had friends before. Iruma learns a student's rank controls what food they can order. Clara gets in trouble with the snack stall owner, who considers her replicating pockets a form of shoplifting. Naberius arrives to settle the matter, only for Clara to trick Iruma into summoning Naberius, turning him back into an owl. Clara and Asmodeus flee while the stall owner traps Naberius and demands payment for the shoplifted items. Iruma asks Asmodeus and Clara if they are his friends, but is surprised to learn demons have no concept of friends, but they agree to be friends anyway. Sullivan holds a faculty meeting where it is decided Iruma, Clara and Asmodeus will all be placed in a misfit class for problem children. Sullivan reveals to Iruma he put him in a class of troublemakers to help him not stand out, along with Asmodeus and Clara, so he wouldn't be alone. Iruma immediately runs afoul of booby traps set by his new classmates, who wagers on whether he would survive. Iruma meets Sabnok Sabro, a tall muscular delinquent who plans on becoming the next Demon King. Iruma learns there are 10 demonic ranks, with Yod, or 10th rank, being strongest, and the Demon King is always chosen from among the Yod. Sabnok admits he was placed in misfit class for trying to defeat a teacher. Naberius arrives and sets them a task to determine their ranks, a race through a dangerous valley. though Nibarius warns them to avoid the guardian beast that is in a particularly foul mood. Most students opt to fly, except for Iruma, who has no demonic wings and simply falls off the cliff when pushed by an impatient Nibarius. Sabnock flies straight for the guardian, hoping to defeat it and get a high rank. Iruma is carried off by a demonic crow that accidentally drop him in the guardian's nest with its baby, who is injured. Iruma tries to help the baby and discovers his human blood can heal demons' injuries instantly. The grateful baby decides to fly Iruma to the flag as a thank you. Elsewhere, Sabnock admits he made a mistake trying to defeat the Guardian as it easily overpowers him. Sabnock reveals he wants to become Demon King to prove himself better than his pacifist older brother. Iruma suddenly lands in front of him, pacifying the Guardian by showing its child is healed. Sabnock assumes Iruma is somehow powerful enough not to be afraid of the Guardian. At the finish line, Asmodeus places first, and Clara, riding on Asmodeus' shoulders, comes second. Iruma and Sabnock end up in last despite riding on the Guardian's back. Nibarius explains a rank owl will provide everyone with rank badges. Sabnock declares Iruma his rival. Asmodeus earns Dalet, 4th rank, Clara earns Gimel, 3rd rank, and Sabnock earns Bet, 2nd rank. Iruma, instead of a badge, receives a golden ring. A startled Sabnock recalls a prophecy that the next Demon King will make other demons his servants, heal injuries with his blood, have been born a foreigner, and wear Solomon's ring. Iruma freaks out when a black flame demon appears from the ring and starts draining power from his classmates. Nibarius senses the ring threatening him and moves to sever Iruma's entire arm, but is stopped by Sullivan, who scolds him. Sullivan explains the ring is actually the gluttonous feeder ring that eats magic power, then pacifies it by feeding it some of his power. Iruma's rank is undetermined and by default receives the lowest rank, Aleph. Meanwhile, his taming of the Guardian and his ring attacking his classmates increases his fame yet again. Iruma's fame draws the attention of the student council. In botany class, the students learn to use magic to grow demonic plants. Sabnock produces a feral flower that eats everything it sees, Asmodeus an elegant flower with flaming petals, and Clara a mutated flower beyond rational description. Having no magic, Iruma says the spell is a joke while thinking of his home in Japan. Sullivan's magic suddenly bursts from his ring just as Sullivan calls Iruma to explain that the ring lets Iruma use magic, but Sullivan had forgotten to set a limit on its output. Iruma's overpowered seed explodes into a giant cherry blossom tree, destroying the greenhouse. Student Council President Azazel Amory recognizes the tree as a human plant and suspects Iruma is a human. Amory privately reveals most demons believe humans do not exist, but her family secretly owns a library of sacred relics, such as Japanese manga, and is obsessed with the First Love Memories series, but as she cannot read Japanese, has mistakenly concluded it is a manual of human love spells. Iruma tries to clean up the falling cherry blossoms, despite Clara making more mess. As he leaves, Iruma turns a corner and accidentally knocks Amory over. Amory, recognizing the similarity to a romantic scene from First Love Memories, believes Iruma is trying to make her fall in love with him using human magic and concludes he must be human. Iruma and Amory end up frozen, unsure how to react. Iruma assumes Amory is angry, while Amory assumes she is in a magical love duel. Amory drops First Love Memories, which Iruma recognizes as a manga he helped illustrate to earn money. Amory realizes he can read Japanese, and rather reveal that he is a human, drags him to her office and asks him to read the story out loud for her. After Iruma finishes, an embarrassed Amory puts her number in his phone so she can ask him to read for her again. Iruma can't decide if he prefers his old life or his new life. Opera informs him it may be possible to visit the human world if he becomes a high-ranking demon. Iruma is summoned by Amory, making Asmodeus and Clara suspicious. Amory decides, based on First Love Memories, that spending time with Iruma counts as a date. Asmodeus and Clara buy detection warding glasses to hide while following Iruma. Asmodeus assumes Iruma is hatching a plan to take over the student council, while Clara assumes they are excluding her from a new game. After learning about ambition from First Love Memories and listening to Amory's plans for the future, Iruma realizes his pushover personality had prevented him from having any ambition of his own. Asmodeus tries to stop Clara ruining Iruma's plans of taking over the school. Iruma struggles to come up with a dream, so Amory urges him to raise him his rank as a temporary goal. Clara bakes into the room to take Iruma back, assuming Amory was trying to steal him. As time passes and Iruma spends more time with Amory, Clara becomes increasingly jealous, so Sabnok suggests she lure Iruma with her feminine wiles. As Clara has no feminine wiles, she joins seduction class to learn sexiness, but the succubus teacher, Rhyme, determines she only has 2% sexiness, making her impossibly innocent. Clara tries to use seduction methods on Iruma, but he assumes she is playing games. Clara becomes depressed but returns to normal after her mother kisses her forehead. The next day, Clara tries to use a kiss attack, but Iruma avoids it with his superhuman dodging skill, while Clara ends up receiving a detention from Niberius. Clara admits she has zero sex appeal and resigns herself to losing Iruma, until Iruma innocently reveals he does think of her as a girl, restoring her confidence enough she declares she'll make Iruma fall for her. Iruma feels an unusual thump in his heart as she pulls him along holding his hand. Rhyme happily observes that Clara's sexiness has risen to 10%. Iruma decides to get serious about raising his own rank from Aleph first to Bet second. Iruma asks Asmodeus to help him climb the ranks, and Asmodeus overreacts and begins planning to make Iruma a Yod, 10th rank, and rule the school, though Iruma assures him he would be content with making it to Bet. Asmodeus agrees, assuming Iruma has a complicated reason for becoming a Bet, and explains the best way is to score well on an upcoming rank promotion exam based on execution cannonball, a dangerous competition similar to human dodgeball. Iruma assumes he will do well with his ability to avoid danger until he realizes the other students are allowed to use their demonic powers. He asks Sullivan for training and learns he can use his ring to use magic during the exam, but Iruma decides he wants to compete with his own power and not magic borrowed from Sullivan. Sullivan strengthens Iruma's hands to give him a fair chance, then leaves the physical training to Opera. Iruma struggles to catch the ball as his instinct is to dodge, but he refuses to give up and even gets help from Asmodeus and Clara. After a week, he still cannot catch the ball, but Opera assures Sullivan Iruma is definitely having fun. Eventually, Iruma manages to catch the ball, and Opera informs Sullivan Iruma is ready to take the exam. The day of the exam arrives. Niberius explains their rank will be increased based on the opponents they defeat, but only if they are on the winning team. Asmodeus is assigned to a different team from Iruma, but decides to help him. The exam is instant chaos as Iruma's classmates use their powers while Clara floods the court with multiple balls. Iruma manages to catch the real ball, only to realize he never learned how to throw it. Sabnok, irritated that Asmodeus appears to be daydreaming, tries to strike him, but Asmodeus strikes Sabnok out instead. Asmodeus continues to strike players without thinking, until only he and Iruma remain. Asmodeus is put in a tight spot. If he lets Iruma win, he would be helping Iruma gain a rank, but also undermine all his hard work. After a moment of hesitation, he decides to throw his whole power. Amory arrives to watch the exam for herself. Iruma overcomes his fear and catches the powerful throw, but as he cannot stop it, he instead spins in a circle to redirect the ball's momentum back at Asmodeus, who is struck out by his own power. Niberius, impressed by Iruma's tactic, promotes his rank to Bet, second. Amory congratulates Iruma on finally gaining ambition. Iruma thanks Opera for all his training, upsetting an emotional Sullivan who realizes he did very little to help Iruma at all. A new teacher, Babyls Robin, begins teaching the misfit class about the importance of bonding with one's familiar. Asmodeus and Sabnok summon their Gorgon snake and Kelby horse, and Clara summons her Falfal, a rare familiar whose actions are mysterious. Iruma tries to refuse until Babyls says please, so Iruma summons a furious Niberius. Babyls reminds Iruma he needs to control his familiar, according to the rules written by Niberius. Niberius decides to make Iruma the best summoner in class, even though it involves playing embarrassing games to promote trust. Iruma sincerely apologizes, so Niberius asks why Iruma didn't summon him to fight the Valley Guardian. Iruma explains it was so neither Niberius nor the Guardian get hurt. Asmodeus and Sabnok get in a fight, so Niberius defeats their familiars and angrily informs the students that familiars are powerful, violent monsters only kept in check by their contracts. The best summoners should trust their familiars while also fearing them, as Iruma does. Niberius also forces Babyls to rethink his teaching style. Iruma learns about the Battlers, groups of students with similar interests who form groups to help each other raise their ranks, like school clubs. Iruma decides to join one of the Battlers to find a new goal and possibly raise his rank again. Asmodeus tries to prepare Iruma as the senior battlers begin their rookie hunt, an insanely terrifying stampede by older students to recruit first-year students into their groups.